It's starting to seem like Sony is in a very strange position with PlayStation because as it currently exists, the PS5 is the biggest console on the planet. Its games are selling tens of millions of copies. The system itself is so popular, they are still having trouble keeping them in stock even 3 years after launch. But people are asking the question of, what happens to the future of PS5? And the answer hasn't been great. Sony is very dead set on the idea of making multiple games as a service projects. Big games that are persistent, that have patches, that have battle passes and microtransactions. And a lot of times those games turn out kind of bad. Well, last night in Japan, they did a new fiscal report talking about the current state of PlayStation, and they said something kind of promising. I think they're starting to give up on the idea of this big, expensive push towards live service. But let's see what they said. Hi, I'm DreamcastGuy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So here we go. Last night, Sony reported its highest Q2 for PlayStation ever. They generated $6.6 billion in just the last couple months. That means their gaming revenue is up 32%. This is insane because technically that doesn't even include Spider-Man 2 yet. They have just been straight up that profitable. They said that, hey, the PS5 is now actually over 45 million consoles shipped. They said they're on track to sell 25 million PS5s just this fiscal year, which again just shows how massive of a holiday it's about to be. But here's the part of this that everybody is focusing on. Half of their 12 live service games that are currently in development have been delayed beyond March 2026 to ensure higher quality for players. Now, personally, I'm extremely happy about this because I just don't love the idea of live service games. I do play some. I mean, I have literally 300 hours in just Diablo 4, a game that's season-based and does have expansions you pay for and microtransactions. But I was never thrilled about the idea of Sony attempting to have 12 of them. This is such a big, massive focus. And a lot of people have never been happy with it because, let's face it, PlayStation is good at single-player games. PlayStation is good at stories, about creating universes, about making big, beautiful, epic journeys that are emotionally powerful. People have been asking them to make more multiplayer games, not games as a service. What they want is to bring back games like Killzone, Resistance, SOCOM, those classic Sony shooters that used to be lucrative and now have just disappeared. But it's interesting to watch how everybody is celebrating the fact that this is just good. It sounds weird on paper to think of like very PlayStation-focused guys like Greg Miller, people like this literally celebrating less PlayStation games seems strange on the surface, but actually keep this in mind. Here's what's bizarre. I actually found somebody that listed it out. These are the 12 live service games that are currently in development, or the ones we actually know about. A lot of these are studios that have been purchased and put on the job of making live service games, or they're studios they already owned that are now working on live service. These are game studios that have typically proven themselves as making good games, and now, by Sony leadership, are being forced to make, in my opinion, watered down games as a service, login bonus bullshit. But these projects, I'm not going to say that all of these sound completely terrible. Like, The idea of Horizon Zero Dawn getting some sort of multiplayer Monster Hunter style thing, that sounds interesting. Helldivers 2, I'm definitely going to be playing the heck out of that. But a lot of this stuff, Marathon by Bungie, which is going to be an extraction shooter, a live service version of Twisted Metal. So Twisted Metal that's free to play. We're probably going to be buying car skins like Rocket League. The live service Last of Us game from Naughty Dog. There's a live service mobile game from Savage Game Studios. Some sort of modern fantasy game set in London from London Studio. Now, I just want to state again that my problem is not with these games existing. I actually think that some of these are probably going to be fun, but I can't help but actually think about the fact that what if these were single player games? What if these were games that maybe had a multiplayer component to them, but didn't require constant, stupid integration of drip feeding you content? We know that the Last of Us devs are great. Why are you making them do this? Why are you trying to make them create this big, persistent, existing universe instead of just a fun, tight game? Now, interesting enough, I feel like part of the reason that PlayStation is pulling back on this is because they realize nobody actually enjoys this. They released this statement yesterday. Warner Brothers said they want to try and make everything into live service games. All their franchises, from the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, to Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Batman, everything now has to become a live service game. Nobody wants this. I will die on the hill the fact that this is one of those stupid corporate ideas that is not taking place in the real world. I've talked about this in other videos, but there is this corporate disconnect where high-up executives who, greenlight games, who approve budgets, who look at fiscal charts and line go up, these people are not the people playing games. A lot of times these guys are just sitting on yachts, they're sipping their martinis. They do not actually know what makes a game sell. They do not understand what drives passion, what drives commitment, what drives sales, what makes people want to pre-order a game or buy 5 copies of it to give to their friends on Christmas. These guys are just so focused with, okay, Fortnite makes tens of billions of dollars. GTA 5 makes tens of billions of dollars. PUBG makes tens of billions of dollars. Call of Duty makes hundreds of billions of dollars. How do we tap into that? And they just press what they believe is the money button. And I'm just not a fan of that. I'm not fully against the idea of Sony making a couple games as a service projects. I do think it's interesting to have like big online worlds where I can play with my friends and run around and maybe unlock some little stupid daily quests. My problem was always the number of it. 12 games as a service is absolutely stupid. How did they ever actually think that getting all these studios, they bought studios, they acquired studios to help them just make more games as a service projects. Imagine if they had those people actually making the games people wanted. The biggest critique I hear about PlayStation these days, which I think is completely valid, is that they definitely make less games than they used to. Sony used to just be putting out 3 to 5 to sometimes even 7 or 8 banger, badass, big AAA exclusives every single year for the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 generations. And here we are in the PS5 generation, and we're kind of just scratching our heads saying, okay, what specifically is coming next? You have the manpower, you have the focus, you have the budget. Make the games. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. What do you guys think about this? Are you as happy as I am? Be sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to try and buy a PlayStation 5 Slim tomorrow. It doesn't still technically have a release date, but I've heard Best Buy might just be stocking them randomly, so I'm going to show up at Best Buy and open and maybe unbox one. So if this video gets a couple thousand likes, I appreciate it. And tomorrow you can see me open up a very overpriced, not really cool revised console. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.